On property rights, EFF set up a property rights, excuse me, property rights center this year. We kicked it off on Lincoln's birthday, which was 200th anniversary of Lincoln's birthday. And the reason for that is some of you heard me talk about freedom in Jefferson and today's Constitution today. You know, to our founders, we had certain inalienable rights. Among these were life, liberty, and personal property rights. And you say, wait, I thought it said pursuit of happiness. The reason it doesn't say pursuit of happiness, although the original draft does, was because of the issue of slavery. But if you read the Federalist Papers, you'll see that to your founders, there could be no pursuit of happiness without private property rights. And in fact, in the Constitution, they went further. Maybe we could bring this back. You couldn't vote if you didn't own private property. Chief Justice John Jay, the first Chief Justice of the U.S. Supreme Court, authored a unanimous decision in the 1790s saying the primary function of government was to protect and enhance private property rights. So everywhere we're looking, I mean, the most obvious thing you see is eminent domain, which has been abuses in this state on eminent domain. That's one of the things we're looking at. But the biggest issues are the critical areas, ordinance, sustainability, Prop 4, these little things that sound so good, the Y2Y, where they come through and just take property, down zone property. We were assistant capable of the Kitsap County property owner. They had a hearing, which I testified, where the county wanted to have a 100-foot setback from all water. And the county planners testified they were just doing this because Pierce County was doing it. And I got up and said, the legislature unanimously, this is very rare, the legislature unanimously passed a bill saying that not all shorelines are critical areas. That's legislature, because of what was happening. And Pierce County actually inventoried all the shorelines. In a minor part was critical areas, which they termed critical areas. Kitsap was going to set a 100-foot setback, and they did. 100-foot setback for the whole thing. So this one guy gets up there and he says, my lot is 28 feet deep, and I don't have a permit yet. What happens to me? They said, we can't build on it. So he said, well, did they lower my assessed value? He said, well, no. So the guy gets up there and he said, well, I have this property, and it sounds like am I grandfathered in? Yes. What happens if my septic tank goes out? Well, then you have a problem. Well, luckily, the Kitsap property owners took it to court. They won at the local level. Now they won at the Court of Appeals, but Kitsap probably will go to the state Supreme Court in terms of that. But everywhere you go, whether you look at the rally unit over here, property rights are under attack. So what we're doing with the Property Rights Center is trying to be a statewide coordinating body where we're bringing all these various groups together to coordinate what's happening around the state. We have monthly conference calls right now with what's going on. And then a policy center, looking at what needs to be changed in state law. Some might have to be done by initiative, especially when they're currently part of the legislature. Some may need court action, in which case there's court action. We have an advisory group, which in the case of Eastern Washington includes the Mountain States Legal Foundation, Western Washington includes the Institute for Justice, the Pacific Legal Foundation. And so in some cases, after screening, EFF's Constitutional Law Center will pick up the initial lawsuit. In the event we lose, but in the event we lose, then Mountain States Legal or PLF or Institute for Justice will pick up the appeal. And they keep saying, we're not there to do the first lawsuit, the trial court level, but we're there to provide assistance if you go forward. So that's one of the things we're really trying to do in terms of moving ahead on property rights. On your issue, and you know more about your issue than I do, but this is our short summary. We're having a session on estate planning today down at the Spokane Club. And this is what we're passing out to them. And then tomorrow morning I'm speaking at the COG at 8 o'clock and at Frontier West at noon. And this is what we're passing out to our members now until we can get our attorneys to approve the legal document we're trying to do. But essentially this takes after what Glenn Beck does. Just ask the questions. When it says a community bill of rights, I'm just reading, it just drives me a wall. You know, who gets to define the sustainability? What do you think it means? And when I read the ballot title and then the language underneath that, where the community is going to defend go after your rights, I mean, this is insane. I thought I was in Russia when I read that. When he first told me about it, I thought it was a joke. It really couldn't be written that way in Spokane. Residents have the right to a locally based economy. I mean, if this did pass, you talk about the lawsuits this opens up. This is the full. His attorneys full practice law, whatever you want to call it.
A FIPA.
Yeah,
the attorney's full employment.
Yeah. Doesn't mean we can sue. You can sue city government, and then city has to pay for it. Affordable preventive health care. Isn't that an interesting one? Who defines affordable? Who defines preventive? I mean, that's like Obama saying that we're not going to, insurance companies can't have pre-existing conditions, they can't have any limits on that, and they can't raise their rates. Well, that causes them all to go out of business, so then you get the government, oh, that's what they want to begin with in terms of doing that. The right to affordable and safe housing. And again, the ballot title, if that's all they see, it sounds so good. I mean, who wouldn't want affordable and safe housing? This is where, when I talk to legislators, they just look at me. I said, that ultra-conservative group called the University of Washington? Who can call them ultra-conservative? They put out a study showing that the average home in Seattle, the cost goes up over $200,000 just because of the cost of regulation. So if you want affordable housing, then you get rid of the government regulations that are adding no value in terms of doing that. I mean, it's a basic common sense thing, except for legislators who don't understand that. I want to give more money to ACORN and other groups like that to go out and sue for affordable housing. Residents have the right to affordable and renewable energy. Isn't that great? I mean, who comes up with that? Again, judges and everything else. The natural environment has the right to exist and flourish. Now that sounds like that thing you just mentioned about the tree and pain. Olympia has one of those dumb statutes, and I don't live in Olympia now, but the people who live in Olympia can nominate their neighbor's tree, and then before the neighbor can do anything, the arborist has to come out and look at it. You can cut that, and you have to do something else. The building we moved into, I guess 8 years ago, we're not there anymore. Brand new building, and they had to have so much foliage around it. And the city actually came out with these calipers measuring the foliage to see if they had enough. Forget the fact that these plants are all going to grow. Of course, 6 years later, they've all overtaken everything. And the planners just love this kind of nonsense when they go in. But we're seeing more and more legislation in Olympia that has this type of language in about the natural environment has the right to exist and flourish. Have any of you been to Boulder, Colorado? And in Boulder, Colorado, you don't own your pets. You get a permit from the city. They're crazy in Boulder. I mean, the rights that animals have versus people. Well, that sounds like the Endangered Species Act when you look at that in terms of that. Residents have the right to determine the future of their neighborhoods. Well, again, I'm not an attorney, but so much. I used to be a good auditor. I used to audit for Congress at the Pentagon and Post Office. So from an auditor's point of view, I'm not trying to be an attorney. Residents have the right to determine the future of their neighborhoods. The Washington State Constitution says you are guaranteed a republic form of government. That means the growth planning hearing boards are illegal. According to the Constitution, some county needs to sue. It means these neighborhood councils that override elected city councils are illegal. We just need someone to sue if this would pass. Workers have the right to be paid the prevailing wage and the right to work as apprentices. When at your conference, when I read this, I thought, oh, wait a minute. I'm not qualified, but I have the right to be an apprentice. I want to be a plumbing apprentice. Right? This is so nonsense. If you get these messages out in terms of that. Plus, prevailing wages, the thing we're trying to get at is how much that discourages jobs. It costs jobs. I mean, school construction, they probably raised the cost of school construction by 30%. In Pennsylvania, they built a Catholic school and a public school, same size, almost next to each other, the difference in price was 35% because of prevailing wage. Workers have the right to employer neutrality. Watch out, that's going to come back in the legislature again next year. The worker privacy bill where you can't even talk to your employees about what goes on. Between that and card check, Fred Smith, who runs a very successful business called FedEx, says if card check goes through with some nonsense like this, we're gone. It's not worth the hassle. That's a pretty good one. People aren't concerned about jobs when they look at that. Residents, workers, neighborhood councils, and the city of Spokane shall have the right to enforce the Community Bill of Rights. Well, I guess first, if it passes, you should take advantage of it and you bring up the charges against the city first. But I mean, this thing is so obscene, and the reason I'm talking about it, I know you're doing a lot. We're trying to do as much as we can. If the other ideas, what we can do on here. Not only we put it in our newsletter, not only coming out with an issue brief, we're going to be sending out an email and a letter to all of our members who live within the city of Spokane limits. We'll probably send it out to everybody who lives in Spokane County because other people live outside the city, and friends who live inside the city, etc. in terms of doing that. Now, for Spokane Valley residents, it's probably the best opportunity to get jobs moved from Spokane to, no,
It's true.
it's true in terms of that one.
Temporarily, until it goes to the valley.
Until it goes to the valley, yeah. So let me just conclude with one thing, that as we talk about freedoms, we're the Evergreen Freedom Foundation, and property rights is really a big thing because we really believe that if you lose property rights, you lose it all. That's the key issue. I mean, that's what separates us from so many countries. Private property rights. And once you lose the private property rights, then government can take it all.